All right, let's take some notes on compound interest. And this is how most money is calculated. For instance, if you take a loan or if you use a credit card. And effectively, if you don't pay your full bill, credit cards are loans. And a lot of times they're very high interest rates. Let's go ahead and look at how compound interest works with credit cards. First, write this down with me. Compounded means how often the interest is calculated per year. So, an example would be if it's compounded monthly, then how many months are in a year? And that would be 12. Or if it's compounded daily, how many days are in a year? About 365. And then quarterly, how many quarters are in a year? We'll just think quarter means 4, so 1/4. So that means there's 4 quarters in 1 year. And lastly, we have semi-annually, and that occurs twice a year. Do you know which one credit cards fall under? If you said daily, you're right. It's calculated every day. And we're going to learn how that can actually make the interest be a lot more than what they say the interest rate is. So how do you calculate compound interest by hand? Let's go ahead and try out an example. Alright, first we're going to multiply the principal, or our starting amount, by 1 plus the rate over the number of times the interest is calculated per year. And that's denoted by this formula, capital P, which is the principal, 1 plus R over N. R is our rate, N is the number of times it's calculated per year. And then this is why it's not simple interest, because on the second step, the product is the new principal. So plug it back into the formula and repeat step 1. So your principal keeps changing every time the interest is calculated. And this is what can make the interest add up and add up. If you need extra time, just pause the video. Alright, let's jot down an example. A credit card charges 20% for unpaid balances. If you owe $10,000, what would you owe after 2 days? Alright, remember, we just learned that credit cards charge it daily. So think how many days are in a year. So I'm going to use my formula. P, which is principal, 1 plus R over N is what we're multiplying that by. So 10,000 times parentheses 1 plus, and the rate is going to be as a decimal. So for the 20%, I'm going to move it 2 spots to the left, which would be 0.2. And that's calculated daily, so that's 365 times in a year. And you can simply type that in your calculator. Just make sure that you're using parentheses around this as well when you type it in. Okay, you can pause if you need to, and then check your answer with me. And I got $10,005, 0.47945. Well, since this is dollars and cents, we just need to go to that second decimal place, to the hundredths, and the 9 rounds the 7 up to an 8, so it's 48 cents. Did you get that? If not, type it in again, and remember, it's the parentheses that is important. And what would this be after day what? Day 1. So now look back at what we wrote down. Our second step is we need to use this same number, or this new number is going to be our principal for the second step. So let's just repeat that process for our second step. Alright, so now we have 10,005 and 0.48 times parentheses 1 plus 0.2 over 365. And remember, we still want to put that part in parentheses as well. Alright, type that in your calculator, hit the pause button, and then you can check it with me. All right, I got 10,010.96245, and we're going to round that to the nearest hundredth, so the 2 is going to keep that as 6. So it would be 10,010.96. And that's after day 2. We just answered our question. So after the second day, that would be our amount. Alright, is there a quicker way? Of course there is. Alright, let's learn that formula. Alright, our compound interest formula, so we can make a calculation just by plugging in the numbers, is going to be as follows. Alright, that formula is A equals P, parentheses 1 plus R over N, to the N times T power. Alright, take a second to jot down what each of those letters mean. Remember to use the pause button if you're not finished copying them. So A is the final amount, P is the initial principal, also known as your starting amount, R is the rate as a decimal, N is the number of times it's compounded per year. So remember in the credit cards that was 365 times per year because it was daily. And then T is the time in years. So if you wanted to borrow money for 4 years, you'd plug in a 4 for T. If it was just 1 year, you would just plug in a 1 for T. Alright, let's apply what we just learned. Your example is a credit card, same situation, $10,000 balance. At 20%, find the amount owed after 2 years. And remember, credit cards are calculated daily. Alright, we don't know our final amount, so that's A. What's our principal? Well, we started out with 10,000. 1 plus, what's our rate? 20%, so that would be 0.2 as a decimal. Then the N is how many times is it calculated per year, and that would be daily. How many days are in a year? 365. And then to the N power, so that's that same number again, 365. And then how many years are we talking about? 2. I'm going to go ahead and change my 365 times 2 to 730. Alright, now type that in and you should have your final amount. Wow, did our 10,000 turn into a big number. $14,916.61. Is that what you got? Alright, just to give you an idea of how much bigger this is, let's calculate the interest not daily but yearly to compare. So I'm going to erase off the N in both parts of my formula. So that N goes away and that N goes away. And now it just looks like a normal growth formula for an exponential growth. So let's just plug it in that way and see what we'd get. So it would be A equals 10,000 times parentheses 1 plus 0.2 to the second power, because we're talking about 2 years. Alright, type that in your calculator, and you can type that in as 1.2. Alright, that's $14,400. That's a difference of, if you subtract these, $516.61. Pretty big difference when you think about it like that, huh? Now just a question for you. What percent is that really? Well, let's see how much. So I'm just curious, if we calculated it that way, how much did that change from our original amount? Well, 4,400, right? It went up by 4,400, and then we divide that by our original 10,000, and that would give us 0.44 or 44%. Wow, so 20% became 44% even just compounding it yearly, not even daily. I wonder what it would be daily. Well, how much did our actual amount change by? Well, 14,916.61 minus 10,000 would be 4916.61 over our original amount of 10,000. And if we divide those out, we end up getting 0.4917. And then that would be 49.2%. Wow, so that's a difference of 5.2% just by calculating it daily. So that's how they get you. Alright, you try this one on your own. Anne borrowed $30,000 to buy a car. She was charged 8.5% interest compounded quarterly. What would she owe after 4 years if she had not yet made a payment? Please pause the video, copy it down, and then try it on your own, and we'll check it in just a second. My oh my, I got $41,998.56. That's a lot of interest. How much interest would that be? Well, if you subtracted that from the original value, it would be $11,998.56 extra she borrowed just to have that car. She better make a payment, huh?